My name's James. I'll be your MC for tonight, your host, your compere, your shining light in the darkness, the common thread that weaves through the tales of the evening, the guy with the microphone. That's me. But to kick things off, I'd like to acknowledge that we're meeting here tonight in the country of the Anawan people. And it's my honor to pay respect to elders past and present of this country. And I think tonight of all nights, it's really important that we sort of acknowledge and recognize the caretakers of this land, because tonight is all about the land. It's all about how we live amongst it, how we use it, how we abuse it sometimes, and how our understanding of it can help us better ourselves. Because tonight's all about plants and the power that plants have. So to get a sort of lay of the land before we start, another show of hands. Who came here tonight thinking might get some good gardening tips? No one? No one? All right. Anybody coming thinking they might get good food and diet tips? Good. Couple of people. Anybody got a legal hydroponics lab at the back just hoping for some pointers tonight? Yeah, a couple. Anybody here a police officer with a local area command? No? No, good. All right, you're in the clear. All right. Well, we're going to kick things off with our first speaker. He's come all the way up from our nation's capital. He runs his own agricultural consulting business. Can I have a big round of applause for Dr. Maarten Stapper? Come on, Maarten. Maarten, well, welcome back to Armadale. It's been a while since you've been here. You did your PhD here years ago, right? No, you're... Sorry? 36 years ago. And you're here in Armadale on a sort of rock star tour, talking with school groups and stuff about the work that you do. All right, I'm going to leave it to you. I'm going to be a ruthless MC tonight. Each person has about 15 minutes. So 15. 1-5. I'll start giving you a wink at about 12 minutes. And then at 15 minutes... if I need to, I'll come and manhandle you off the stage. Move things on. Dr. Maarten Stapper, everybody.
Thanks, James, for the introduction. And like 50 minutes was that I talked 3 times today to classes in schools here in Canberra. And yesterday we had 4 sessions to talk to students. So I'm in the mood to talk about food. And like it's very important, because we are involved in agriculture, each of us, because we have to eat every day. And you can't eat food from the fresh food people and say that it comes from their company. No, it comes from the farmers that grow our food. So it's very important to know where that food comes from. And we are going in the wrong direction with food production. It's all about more intense farming, higher production, more kilos per hectare, without the quality of that food. And the quality is not measured. And that's the big issue, because the science says, like with all the high yields that we have now, that the nutrition is diluted because of the high yields. So they accept that nutrition in our current food is low because it's diluted because of the high yields. But I'm on the track of biological farming, to use the powers of nature to get more nutrition in our food. And then we get, for the same tonnage we get of food produced, we get far more nutrients, minerals, vitamins, antioxidants, fatty acids in that food than we have in our current food. So the fertilizer chemical track of our food production is completely in the wrong way. But the science world is still proposing to get new tricks on new chemicals, new fertilizers, and then the GMOs to get new varieties. Oh, we get this beautiful new variety that uses less water. Well, I first heard, like I was a CSO scientist, and I first heard that promise like 25 years ago about this better quality with GMO, less water, less nitrogen use. All those promises haven't come to fruition. The only GMOs that are released are the ones that you can spray a crop with a herbicide and the crop doesn't die, like the Roundup Ready crops, and the insect-resistant crops with the BT gene, like the cotton. And then the cotton industry says, oh, we use far less insecticides now than we sprayed before. Yeah, they do. But if you calculate the neonics insecticide now on the seed, which was never included in their statistics, that neonic seed, insecticide, is now forbidden in Europe because it kills bees. The bees that are in contact with plants that are grown with neonics, because it's in the seed, and then it gets into the pollen of the cotton plant, and then the bees that pollinate the cotton are then confused about direction because they lose their sense of direction and they can't find the hive back, so they're gone. So that's the short introduction to my topic. But the power of plants is absolutely amazing. Like it's the photosynthesis. They take carbon dioxide from the sky and they make then sugars, and that becomes tissue and fruit and veggies that we eat. And the carbon ends up in the soil, and the carbon in the soil is a fertility factor. So that power of the plant to get carbon dioxide from the sky and use the free H2O and the free minerals from the soil to make produce, we all forgot that in our science because it was so easy to work with fertilizers, and then we get more chemical use to kill the bugs, etc. So we lost that power of the natural system. So now we go back, and as I was doing that in CSRO 10 years ago, I was called to a halt because CSRO said, this is not our aim and objectives. We don't want to lower the fertilizer use and chemical use because there's no scientific evidence, and we don't want to go back in the dark ages of not using chemicals and fertilizer. But what I'm now saying with this whole biological farming, the regenerative farming, to increase the soil biology, to get more carbon in the soil, to get the plants growing by themselves in the soil without chemicals and fertilizers, that is 21st century thinking, because we use the powers of nature that we know that nature has in our management systems. And our forebears never did that. They couldn't understand. And like whenever there was a calamity in their cropping system and with their animals, they blamed it on the gods, like Wodan and Donor and all those gods in Europe that were giving the wrong shots and were punishing the farmer with killing animals and giving hungers. But now we understand how nature works, and we can use that power of the soil biology to drive our systems. And it's the microbes in our world that do all the goods. The microbes are the smallest organisms on planet Earth, but they're the most important ones, like the fungi and bacteria. But like in our households, we talk about germs. We have to kill the germs. And we have those liquid soaps that we can buy, also from the fresh food people, that kill 99.5% of the germs. But as soon as we kill germs in our household, we kill the beneficial organisms as well. And beneficial organisms protect our body. Like on our skins, we have bacteria that protect us ourselves. If we use liquid soaps, we kill those bacteria, we can get red rashes, etc. So going back to the power of plants, the plants are also associated with those microbes. And those microbes, they feed the plant and they protect the plant. And now there is scientific evidence that plants communicate with those microbes, like with the mycorrhiza fungi, and the plant asks the mycorrhiza to bring minerals to the plant, but because the plant knows how to make strong cell walls, so it asks for the building blocks for those strong cell walls from the mycorrhiza. The mycorrhiza communicates with the other microbes in the soil, they solubilize minerals, and the plant grows well. The plant photosynthesizes, brings the sugar back in the soil to feed the bugs in the soil that do the work for them. So we get this symbiosis of microbes and plants. So the plant is so strong, it knows how to grow. And when I first talked about that in a seminar in Canberra on Black Mountain for CSRO in 2003, people said, that's nonsense because it's not scientifically proven. I said, if that was not the case, we humans would not be here on planet Earth. Because all the plants that make seeds are resistant to insects and diseases because they make new seed. They know how to grow. If they didn't know how to grow, they would have been wiped out by all the diseases and all the insects because they could keep eating. So why do insects stop eating? They can't chew the resistant plants because the cells are too solid and too strong that they can't digest. So we bring the technology now back in our farms with biological farming, with the regenerative farming, with relying on the biology, steering the biology rather than killing it. So that's the power of the plants. So the power of the plants is then, the plants feed the bugs in the soil. The bugs in the soil make a soil healthy. That the soil is open, like aggregated, crumb structure, that the roots can go down very easily, that the rainfall can go in the soil easily. There's no compaction, there's no big blocks, because everything is aggregated. The microbes do that. And the microbes are fed by the plant. And those microbes are fed by the plant, so their food comes from the plant. So then they think, we have to create this neutral zone that the plant grows well, because if we don't do that, our children can't survive. So that's that whole world of living on planet Earth that has always survived, that is so powerful, and the plant drives that they feed the bugs in the soil, that keep the soil fertile for the plant to grow. And like acidity doesn't exist in that world, because there are some microbes in that world that can complex the hydrogen in such a way that the pH goes up. So all the aim of the microbes is to make a neutral zone that the plant grows best in, because then they have food. And like in a healthy soil, there are up like 50,000 species that do that. So that's the healthy soil. And then we come to the healthy food. Why would plants make healthy food in that environment? Well, those microbes feed the plant. The plant asks for minerals, the microbes make that available. If a plant is attacked by insects or by pathogens, microbes that attack the plant, then the plant can make protective compounds that shy off the attackers. So the attackers go away. With the environmental conditions, like with a drought or a big wet period or high temperatures, heat, stress, all those conditions, the plant creates compounds that alleviate the problems of the environmental stress to the plant. So in all those situations, the plants can make special chemical compounds to protect itself. And now the science world, well, the alternative science world, has quantified those chemicals as antioxidants. So here we have this marvelous story that plants are so powerful that they can protect themselves against insects, diseases, and environmental conditions. And the compounds they make in that process are antioxidants for the glaciers that eat those plants and for us humans that eat that food. And that's why antioxidants are now so rare in our food, because with the fertilizer industry, the fertilizer applications and the chemicals that we use to kill diseases and kill insects, that world kills the beneficial organisms. So the beneficial organisms can't make those minerals available to the plant. The plant can't ask for it anymore, because the plant relies on the back of fertilizer, because it's easy to suck up some minerals from the soil water, and it's the killing of fungi, the killing of pathogens from a crop disease, and insects that eat the plant. It not just kills the attackers, it also kills the beneficials. So we have decimated all the beneficial troops for the power of the plant. We have decimated the power of the plant by killing all those microbes. And we get less antioxidants, we get less vitamin, we get less proteins made. Because like a protein is not just nitrogen, it's all the other compounds. And like phosphorus and sulfur and different compounds are in the proteins. And because the plant can't suck it up, even if we apply fertilizer with soluble zinc and soluble sulfur and soluble molybdenum and sodium, we don't have it in the right balance, and we don't have it in a form that the plant can take it up. And like in that world, in the soil, there are unknown issues that we scientists still don't know about, and what we don't know we can't measure. And those compounds, catalysts in the process, if we don't know that they exist, we ignore them and we say, oh, it's nonsense, it doesn't work. But there are so many issues in the soil, in our food, the food quality that we eat, that science still doesn't know the catalyst, why something is good for us. So they say, oh, you have to eat this balanced diet. But there are compounds in the food that we eat that are produced by the plants, stimulated by the microbes, that are small catalysts in our health. And that's why in my talks now, ratios is very important. Ratios in healthy food. It's not just that something is there, like omega-3. Oh yeah, you have to buy margarine from the fresh food people with omega-3. And you have to eat fish once a week, omega-3. But like omega-3 is only effective in our bodies if the ratio between omega-6 and omega-3 is 3 to 2, 2 to 1. But in our current diets, the omega-3 is like 10 to 1 to omega-3, or 16 to 1 if you eat lots of processed foods and all the cakes and processed grains and all that stuff. So if the ratio in your current food is 10 to 1, 15 to 1, and you eat omega-3 margarine, then that omega-3 doesn't do anything in your body because it's completely out of kilter. But the companies that sell it, oh yeah, they get more money because, oh yeah, omega-3 margarine is very good. And stop eating margarine, go to butter. Because margarine is all the trans fats and all the negatives. And I started to do that when I was a kid. I saw my great-grandparents at 95, and I thought how they were eating, I was eating. They never had low fat, low sugar, low this, low sugar they had, but low fat, low salt, all those issues. So I was just eating, like on a dairy farm, you eat all the saturated fats, you eat the raw milk, you drink the raw milk. Oh, you can say you eat raw milk because it's sturdy. So it's all these issues that I lived with. And then for my kids, I like cooking, so I was always the cook in the house. And I just made all these issues, and they started eating that. And they accepted that, and they are all happy and healthy. So go away from all this low this and low that. Go back to saturated fat. Start with like coconut oil. Coconut oil, who of you is using coconut oil? Coconut oil is the best food that you can get. And like when my first grandson was born, I gave my daughter a big bottle of coconut oil for his bum. And then like one day I came in the house when he was in the bath, and my daughter was putting coconut oil on his bum, and he was putting his fingers in the pot. And that's what coconut is, coconut oil. You can eat it. I use it with cooking, I use it in salads, I use it everywhere because it's health. It's health saturated fats. So we have to go away from all this doctrine, because the doctrine of the science of this is bad for you is funded by companies that have the power, like Cargill for the vegetable oils. It's all going in the wrong direction. It's their power that they use to convince, to pay scientists to do jobs. And I've been in that world, and like you then, as a scientist, you sign a memorandum of understanding if you work for company money. And in that memorandum of understanding, it says, don't talk about the results of your trials till after 5 weeks after you give it to us. So you have first to send the results to a company. The company can tick the box, oh, this is good for us, you guys talk about it. If it's bad for them, you're not allowed to talk about it. So if you then talk about it, you're in breach of contract, so you lose the law and you get punished. And if you talk about it, the company won't give you more money for research, so you can't write more scientific papers. So I'm happy to say that here at UNE, in Armadale, where UNE is, because I did my PhD here, but in subsequent visits, I never had the connection in this field of alternative thinking, real science thinking, with those colleagues. And to me, like and last year with the ecology conference here in Armadale, in early February, I heard them from students. They complained because they can't study agroecology here in UNE. So it's all these slots of the good farming, but it's all with fertilizer and chemicals. They can't merge the farming into the ecology. Because that's what we now call about the biological farming, agroecological farming. You farm within the landscape. And the landscape is an active ecosystem where all the birds and the bees have to be active. And those birds and bees protect your crops, help your crops and pastures, help your animals. So it's no longer environmentalists and agriculturalists working in the landscape. No, we have to work together. Because I'm sick and tired of the warfare in Sydney, Melbourne, Canberra, between environmentalists and agriculturalists. They fight each other because they go on different planes. But what we do with biological farming, we're on the same field, we work in the same environment, and we have to work together to grow the good food that we need. Thank you.
Nice, Stapper. And for Maarten Stapper, everybody, thanks so much.
Sorry, I've got to show the pictures.
If you have questions for Maarten, hang on to them because we're going to do questions at the very end. There'll be a Q&A session. And we can bring them up then.
Sorry, I forgot the pictures in my talk. I only had 3 pictures, but those 3 pictures explain everything.
That one you had was great, though. There's many pictures in one slide.
One was there.
Oh, I'll grab the clicker, too. Something I forgot to mention, too, is after our talks, we're going to have a quick pub-style trivia section. So I didn't see many of you taking notes just then. Some of these trivia questions may or may not relate to the stuff we're talking about tonight. So if you weren't paying attention, you're in trouble. But as I mentioned, so after the talks, we'll take a quick break. We'll do trivia. Then we'll bring our guests up for a quick Q&A. So if you have questions, write them down or remember them, and we'll fix that up then. But following on from Maarten's talk about using, or I guess harnessing the power of nature to help us with organic farming fits very nicely into our next speakers. Now, and they're going to be talking about how actual traditional knowledge can contribute to this and how understanding the natural landscape around us can actually help us survive and better ourselves. And I'm going to bring them up together. They're going to do a bit of a tag team talk. I'd like to welcome up on the stage Michele Mackay and Harry White. Round of applause for Harry and Michele. Now, just to set the scene a little bit, Michele, you're a PhD researcher over here at the University of New England. You also founded and run an environmental consultancy at Angara. You also help manage and run a merino lamb cattle grazing enterprise. You're a volunteer firefighter with the Royal Fire Service. You're raising 2 children. And you're also an undefeated welterweight grappler with the UFC. Is that correct? No. You're not a UFC fighter. You're just a PhD researcher, multiple business owner, volunteer firefighter, or mother too.
Yes.
Ah, sorry, I asked. Harry, what's your excuse? What are you up to? What? You're just Harry. Well, no, actually, Harry. I have this written down, Harry. You're a Camillera elder. You're Senior Land Services Officer for the Northern Tablelands, local area land services. You're Executive Officer of the Northern Tablelands Aboriginal Reference Advisory Group.
Yes.
Author of multiple books on Indigenous culture, language, land use.
Yes.
Guys, really, you're just showing off now. Frankly, it's getting annoying.
You're doing a good job for me. I'm fine with it.
Well, since you've got a microphone, how about, would you like to start us off? Michele, I can give you this one. You can jump in as you like. Take it away, Harry. Thanks so much.
Have you got the...
It's in my pocket.
Did you sell it? Oh.
There you go.
Yeah, thanks for the introduction, and thanks everybody for coming to see me. That's me, as you can see, and our topic tonight is the book, Bush Tucker, Boomerangs and Bandages. That's it there. And if you all behave yourselves, we'll give you a copy tonight. But you must behave. Anybody not laughing at my dry jokes is not going to get one, I can tell you that now. So, there's the book, front cover there. Michele came up with the title, and I guess to a certain degree, even though there's a little bit of money involved in producing the book, it was also a labour of love too. Michele enjoyed doing what she did, part of it, didn't you?
Yeah, Harry rang me up. I just had my first baby, and I think he rang me up 1 week after I got out of hospital and said, "Do you want to write a book?" I'm like, "I just had a baby, why not?"
Yeah, so yeah, it bounced off from there, so that was cool. So, and that started a great relationship. This is back in 2010. So the book is actually when it got launched in 2011. Hit the newsstands. So to give you an idea of when you're trying to put a lot of cultural knowledge together, and I'm going back into the pure form of cultural knowledge, not blending it in with modern scientific terms, with all due respects to other speakers tonight in making that statement. However, the area that I had to look at and go travel around is quite extensive. Now, I think I can remember how to use this thing. Oh, look at that. Okay, so we've got the Queensland border here, all right, and up here at Toomala, over here to Tenterfield. We'll scoot down here to Uralla, and then we'll go across here to Edgeroy, Colorado, Muggendai, and then that completes the loop. So everything in between. The lighter brown area is basically the portion of the Kamilaroi Nation that I worked in, or still work in. Okay? The darker brown ones here is the Banbai Nation and the Anawan Nation and Bundjalung coming up this side here. So there's a sprinkling of different cultures there and different nations and different ideals and different law, as in L-O-R-E, not the L-A-W. Okay? The principal language base here, which I speak, is Kamilaroi, right? And we actually have 3 dialects in the Kamilaroi Nation. The principal 3 is Kamilaroi, Yawalarai, and Yawalarai. So I won't get you to put that in your trivia because that's going to be too hard. All right. Okay, so as you work through the book, we had to do a little bit of strategy thinking behind it, and I really do thank Michele for this part, because obviously when you start to do with flora, you've got categories and areas of where people are going to get more benefit out of. So we divided the book up into 6 sections. 1, 2, 3, 4, that's right, that's good. Okay, so 6 sections, and they're colour-coded. So you can actually hold the book on the side. For those in the front, get a good eye view, you'll see what I mean. And also, I got you up here for a reason. Thank you. And we also have, well, sorry, the colour coding as you flick through the pages. Get the idea? Okay. So that was one thing. So that put it all into the scientific thing. And one of the things that we did when we did our launches, and I forgot to mention this when I started, and I do apologise, but as much as Michele had a great introduction, when we did our book launches, we always introduced Michele as the environmental scientist, which she was. And then when it came to my turn, I was introduced as the environmental disaster. So that seemed to work pretty well. So putting that aside, with the categories of trees, shrubs, herbs, and all them sort of wonderful things that you guys know more about than I do, we also looked at the items that these particular flora species could have been used for in traditional means. And as you go through your book, and you study it very furiously over the next few nights, right, sorry, I've got to hold my able-bodied assistant again, up the top, sorry, I'm not used to this. But up the top of the book there we have these icons, and they will change depending on the species. All right, so some will be greyed out because they're not going to be used for weapons. Sorry, where am I? There. Okay. I was never meant to be a rock star. Yeah. So this is just to help you guide you through the book when you get through it, okay? It's not part of your trivia. I'll let you know with a big hint when to start writing. Now, we've got to go there, haven't I? Okay, so as you go through the book, we have written it in language. And the reason for writing it in language is, as an elder of any Aboriginal tribe, but particularly myself and my own belief, it is my solemn duty as an elder to pass my knowledge down to the next generation. And everyone does that, don't they? Mums, dads, granddads, and all that sort of thing. But more importantly in Aboriginal culture, because it is in a decline, and I'm sure we all understand that, with the influence of gadgets and all sorts of other things. And kids these days are just not getting it. All right, they've got too many other distractions, which I guess that's fair enough to a certain degree. So my role as an elder is to make sure that, at least if my knowledge is passed down, the kids today may not want to sit there and listen to me waffle on, and I can't blame them. However, one day when they become elders, there's a good one, elders, or get to parenthood, they may pick up the book, and that's when it becomes more worthwhile. Okay, so we have 6, how many? 6. You got it in there? Right, okay, next question. So we have 6 languages primarily used in there. I did mention the 3, Gamilaroi, Yawalarai and Yawaliyay, right? And another word that we use quite frequently in our culture is the word Gumaroi. Gumaroi is an old name for Kamilaroi, right? And it has more significance to Aboriginal people than the word Kamilaroi does. Okay? You learned something. That's not in your exam. trivia, whatever. All right. However, when you're coming over this neck of the woods, in Anawan country, where we are today, their language is Ngaanyawana. Right? It doesn't have a very big word base. I'm not here to give you a language lesson, but just to give you an idea, there's probably only about 50 words left, right, in the whole of the language. So that's a bit sad when you think about how things can be declined. Then a little bit further north from here, up in the Gaira country, we have Banbai, right, only 40 kilometres away from here. And they also have a sprinkling there of another dialect, which is called the Gaira dialect, which is mixed up with Banbai and Gaira together. Okay? That's not in your exam. Okay, so this book, sorry, Michelle. So getting onto the book again. So finding a way around the plant use, and we're trying to encourage people to use words, Aboriginal words. Okay, so you got the word leaves, Girangara, right, and all sorts of other things. Don't try and get your tongue around some of these words because the pronunciation is very, very important, and the stress factor, that's another lesson. All right, but we put it there mainly to keep it alive. Okay, so that's in the book at page 9, as you can see there. Right, so here comes the actual book, and this is what the book looks like. I'll get my able-bodied assistant. This is like Sale of the Century, isn't it? You know. Open up one of the pages. There you go. Anywhere there. Okay, not the page that we've got there on the screen, but that's okay. What we've got on the left-hand side, page 16, I think it is.
Does it have to be the same one?
Yeah, that'll do. No, next one. Yellow box. Kibble. There you go. Took it long enough, didn't it? All right. We have used on the left-hand side a picture of the actual tree, the yellow box tree, and the flowering, the fruit, and the leaf structure. So it's a bit of a field guide, isn't it? You can actually put this book, you can see the size of it, in your glove box, in your bag. Doesn't take up too much room. But more importantly, we use the word bibble. Bibble is our name for yellow box, as you can see up here. All right? Then we come into the scientific name and the plant location and a description of the plant. And then down here is the traditional use of the plant, or the tree, or the shrub, or whatever it might be. Up here on the side is those colours that I spoke about. All right? So that gives you an idea of what the traditional usage is, right? And we've put the language name in bold print so it could stand out to keep it vibrant, so to speak. Okay? And that changes. Now, believe it or not, we actually use the word bibble on 3 different species of box tree. All right? Because in Aboriginal people, in the good old days, right, they don't care whether it's yellow box, white box or grey box, it was just a box tree. All right? And as simple as that. All right? And up here, as you can see, the usage there, so they've got all the specials going on one hit there. So that's a pretty useful tree. Okay? So, that was book number 1. There it is there. And we produced that in 2011. I've got to get my cheat notes now. Yeah. I've got to give them some clues. The very first edition was in 2011. That's when I was born. All right. Now, how's your memory going? We've had 4 printings of this book. What are you laughing at? They're listening, are they? We've had 4 printings of the book and 30,000 copies later. It is international. And we're pretty proud of that. Good stuff. All right? It's in the National Library. It's in the State Library. It's in every local Aboriginal Land Council in New South Wales. It's in schools. It's in municipal libraries. It's everywhere. And it's for everybody. It's not just for Aboriginal people. Okay? So, distribution, right? All right. Originally, the book, listen very carefully, originally the book contained, the original conception of the book was for 66 species. How many? 66. Right, easy number to remember, isn't it? 66. What was that number?
66.
Right, okay. All right, so we had 66 species. But when you do 66 species out of all the species that are out there, it's not really a great deal, is it? right? And it's a matter of funding and making sure that we could capture as much as we possibly could. So we went back to the government and said, please, right, can we have a bit more money? Right, we'll sell a few chooks on a Saturday night or something or other, we'll do something for it. So we've got the extra funding and we made it 96. The number? 96. Right, hey, these guys are going to go well in trivia, aren't they? You put that on top of my notes. Okay. I think that's about all the clues I'm going to give them. All right. So, book number 2 is Sticks and Stones, right, and it's about Aboriginal archaeology, all right, how to identify an artefact on properties and things like that, and going through tools and weapons. That was co-written by an archaeologist friend of mine, Tony, and yeah, we've had good fun with that one as well. So that went international as well. And then the crowning piece is that one. Yeah, that one there. There you go. All right. Speaking Our Way, that's released in 2015. And that's the only book of its kind that depicts all the Aboriginal languages in the northern Tablelands. Every single word. Labour of Love, very close to my heart because I speak the Kamilaroi language, but it's got the Bundjalung language, the Walabo language, and it's got all sorts of other weird and wonderful things in there too, plus all sub-tribes and everything, so it's quite extensive, and that's gone international. And it was quite funny because I got an email at work one day, not long after it got released, and it came from Yale University. I thought, oh, this is unusual, you know. Not often get an email from Yale University. So, and they wanted about 4 copies, so we passed them up and sent them off to them. We didn't worry about Harvard, no, we don't worry about them. Just Yale was quite good. So there's our 3 books, which is quite, well, my 3 books, or my part 3 books. What we've done also is, thanks Michelle, you make a great game show host.
Thank you. Hopefully I'll do that when I
A
finish my
PhD game show host. There you go. That's pretty good, isn't it? All right. What we've done also to help people is we've actually produced a CD-ROM in PDF format of each of the books. So you can actually load them on your computer and you can do searching and manipulating, copy-paste and plagiarise and cheat. That's what you're good at, right? Yeah, all jokes aside. Yeah, so these are available tonight as well. So if you need a PDF file to load on your computer, help yourself. We'll see what. But what also we've got here tonight as part of your trivia prizes is all 3 books. 1, 2. You didn't know I could count, did you? 3 have all been personally signed. Signed edition copies. So they are actually as part of your trivia prizes tonight. Cool? There's no more. There's no 6 steak knives or anything like that. How we going there? That's me, in case you need to find me. I'm based at Inverell, which, as you all know, is the centre of the universe. So,
Skyra.
Gyra. All right. Yeah, so that's probably just a light-hearted approach about introducing a book to you. Some of you have already probably seen this book, but the other books are worthwhile having as well, and so thanks for the free plug on those books there. But this wouldn't have been possible, folks, without my good mate. All right? Oh, gee. Yeah, no, we work well together, and we've done many, many projects together as a result of this book too, so it's great. So there you have it. So, oh, wrong one. There you go. There's my family totem. Now I'm going to teach you a word. This one here. All right? And that means tree goanna. Urundali. Can you all say Urundali? Urundali. Yeah, that's my family totem. Do you want to know how totems work? Yeah. Okay. 2 reasons, two factors in a totem. They handed down through the matrilineal link. That's from your mother's side. You're a mother? We won't go into that. All right. What I'm entrusted there is that my family totem is this fella, the Urundali. When I go hunting, I am not allowed to hunt the Urundali. Protects that species. If Michelle was an Aboriginal lady and she got handed a totem, hers might be Bunda. Can you say Bunda? Bunda. Wunda, grey kangaroo. Ever heard of Bundara? Now it's starting to drop, isn't it? All right. So Michele can go hunting the Urundali, but she can't touch the grey kangaroo. I can go hunting the grey kangaroo, and I can't touch the Urundali. You see the balance? That's very clever. All right? That means to say that there's lots of these fellas still running around because of that. The other side of the coin too is, and I'll get into human genetics, is if Michele's tribe was Urundali, and my tribe is Urundali, and Michele and I decided that we thought we might have something very special going on here, that's a bit of a no-no.
My husband's over there.
Don't you get any ideas? G'day, Dave. Hey, go, mate. All right. All jokes aside, we are not allowed to have a relationship because, for all we know, being of the same tribe or the same totem, we could be interrelated. First cousin, second cousin. So it's a means of keeping the bloodline pure. All right? So there you go. 2 uses for the totem. All right? There you go. Anyway, I think I've probably expelled my 50 minutes, have I?
Yeah, you can hand it over to Michele.
Hey, I'm no good at dancing, I can assure you of that. But anyway, look, thank you very much. On behalf of Michele, we would both like to say thank you for allowing us to present the book. And please, look, there's plenty of copies here tonight at $10 each. That's fine. Is it $10?
I think it was $0.
Hey?
$0?
Zero. You're not a very good marketing person, are you? All right, it's $0 tonight, but tomorrow it's probably going to be 10. Yeah. All right, but look, thank you very much, folks. I do appreciate the opportunity. On behalf of my people, my culture, and Michele, thank you very much.
You stay up and I'll do my little bit of...
You're going to rubbish me.
Yeah.
This is get even time.
I've only got one prop for you. Yes.
Where do you want me?
Oh, this one. So just while they're getting the presentation up, it's great to see so many people here and lots of young people as well. Do any of you guys want to be scientists when you get older? Yes, awesome. Yes, we need more girls as scientists, so thank you so much. And it's an absolute pleasure to be here tonight on Anaiwan country, and I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of this country. So I just thought, seeing as we're talking about the power of plants, one thing that I'm doing through my PhD is using plants, and probably in a very different way to a lot of people, how people use plants. So I thought I'd just briefly tell you about that, and then if we've got time, I've got a few interesting stories to share with you guys. So as James said, I'm doing my PhD at the University of New England. My PhD is actually on Aboriginal burning. So we're looking at how to reintroduce Aboriginal burning into a long unburnt landscape, and if the type of low intensity mosaic style burning that Aboriginal people do is different to other types of burning that maybe government or national parks do to meet their hazard reduction guidelines. So I'm working at Wattle Ridge Indigenous Protected Area. Has anyone here been to Wattle Ridge or know where it is? Yeah. Yeah, so Wattle Ridge is just out of Guyra. It's northeast of Guyra, near Glencoe. And it's a beautiful part of the world. It's 600 hectares of wilderness. It's got beautiful granite outcrops and a lot of threatened species, koalas, glossy black cockatoos, quolls, all of the iconic and amazing species that we find around here. It's run by the Banbai mob, so that's the Banbai Rangers there, and we're working together. We're looking at how scientists and Aboriginal rangers can work together to monitor conservation on country and how they can use that in the adaptive management of their country. So these are some of the values I mentioned. So you've got your quoll. The echidna is the totem of the Banbai mob, like Harry said earlier, so it's very culturally significant to them. Glossy black-tailed cockatoo, you know what I mean. Glossy black cockatoo, and the grevillea, which is another threatened species. And this is the sort of low-intensity cultural burning that's being done at Wattle Ridge. So it's looking at, I don't know if anyone here has read Bill Gamage's book about the greatest estate on earth. He talks about Aboriginal fire management throughout Australia that has occurred for thousands of years, that I guess it's been disrupted a bit in the last few years, and Aboriginal people are looking at how can they reintroduce that. And this is us out monitoring together. So we're monitoring the impact of different types of fire on the echidna. So the rangers and I go out and do that together, and I'm hoping when I'm finished the PhD, the rangers will be able to continue to do the monitoring, and they'll know what their management strategies do to their land, so they'll know whether to continue to do those things or whether they maybe should think about changing them. So tonight I just wanted to briefly tell you about this thing. Harry. My beautiful assistant over here. So this is our fire and seasons calendar that the Band by Mob and I have created, and we are using plants as biocultural indicators. And our definition of biocultural indicator is a predictable, obvious seasonal event that may or may not be culturally significant. So basically, there are these seasonal calendars, similar seasonal calendars have been produced across a lot of Aboriginal communities in Australia, but not so many down here. So we thought, well, let's start making our own ones and working out how things work down here. And we've got our biocultural indicators basically tell us when the seasons are changing. So here in summer, it's a hot time of year. So here in the New England, a lot of migratory birds come from the colder climates. They get away from the heat and they come up here to Gyra. I think they're smart. And then they leave again in winter. Wish I could do that. So, yeah, we've got migratory birds coming in, and then we've got mistletoe flower that time of year. And then as we go through the seasons, certain animal behaviours occur, such as echidnas forming breeding trains. Has anyone ever noticed a line of maybe 4 echidnas walking across the road or out in the paddock or anything like that? Yeah. Yeah, so that's basically a breeding train. You've got a female echidna at the front, and then she's being followed by males, and they're all competing to see who can get closest to the female, so to make babies. So, and that does actually happen every year in winter. So that's one of our biocultural indicators. And then things like the native raspberry, that was an important bush tucker. It's the fruit of the native raspberry. In January, there's a number of ground orchids that come up in summer, so when they pop up, we know it's warm. Things like snakes coming out at the end of winter, that means that, you know, the weather's warming up and we're going into spring. Wattles flowering, the hovea. And that's a way that we know that the seasons are changing, and we can then link that to our fire management conditions. So, yeah, this hot time of year, maybe not the best time to burn. Autumn and spring are generally okay times to burn, and winter, if it's not too cold, is okay as well. So we use those biocultural indicators to let us know when it's a good time to burn. And that's just a few examples of our calendar. So similar to the book, it's been widely received. It's now on the Atlas of Living Australia website. It's on the Bureau of Meteorology website, profiling our Indigenous weather knowledge that the Band by Mob and I have compiled. And that's Leslie out at Wattle Ridge teaching some kids about the fire and seasons calendar. Anyway, enough about me. I thought, seeing as we're having a Power of Plants night, I'd tell you a few stories about the true power of plants and give a few examples from our book. Seeing as we're having trivia later, I thought I'd ask you a few questions and see if you know any answers. So, does anyone know what this plant is? Does anyone know what this plant might be used for? So that's Alphatonia excelsa, or the red ash, also known as the soap bush. And if you rub those leaves together, they bubble up, and you can put them with water and wash your hands. It was also used as a traditional medicine, and you can see that in quite a few sort of warm forest and woodland areas around here. So another story about the power of plants. Who knows what the final cause was of Burke and Will's downfall? Yes? Yep. So basically, Burke and Wills, it's a very interesting story. I don't know how many of you know the story of Burke and Wills, but I just read this little bit off the Australian Museum and I thought it was a really interesting story. I might read it out to you. Forever strung together as one, bonded in death, Robert O'Hara Burke and William Wills are two of Australia's most famous and tragic explorers. The first to successfully cross the continent from south to north, they died beside Cooper Creek in southwest Queensland on the return journey. The lavishly equipped expedition, the most expensive ever mounted in Australia's history, included 24 camels, 2 years of rations and 6 tonnes of firewood. Burke wanted to travel lightly and swiftly, so after reaching Cooper Creek, made a dash the rest of the way north with Wills, John King and Charles Gray. They reached the Gulf of Carpentaria successfully, and then they stumbled back down south to the main camp on Cooper's Creek to find the rest of the party had left for Melbourne that morning. Both Burke and Wills died 2 months later within a few hundred metres of each other. King managed to stay alive for another month, helped by Aboriginals, before a search party found him. In the last 2 months of their lives, as their provisions ran out, Burke and Wills observed Aborigines at Cooper Creek preparing and eating nardoo, an aquatic fern. Despite trying to survive on the native plant, they eventually starved and were probably affected by beriberi, a disease caused by lack of vitamin B1, thiamine, caused when one of the enzymes in nardoo destroys thiamine in the body. The explorers failed to prepare nardoo in the traditional Indigenous manner and as a result had not removed the enzyme and may have poisoned themselves. I've just got a couple more, is that all right?
We'll go one more quick one.
All right. Now I have to decide which is the most interesting. Yeah, so does anyone know what's going on in this picture? Yes, Rachel? Yes? Yep, they're cultivating yam daisy. Anyone know what the yam daisy is, other than Rachel? Yes? So it's called the Murnong, and when the first explorers came to Australia, they noticed these yellow fields of daisies, particularly across southern Australia, and these daisies grew year-round, and they're an absolute staple food for the Aboriginal people. So a quote from one of the explorers, this is what it says: a dandelion plant with a bright yellow flower and energy-packed tuber, Murnong was a staple food for Aboriginal people across South and Eastern Australia before the arrival of Europeans. The explorers described the plains of the perennial being tended by Aboriginal women. It was also tragically one of the first plants to be almost entirely wiped out by the settlers' sheep within just a couple of years of their arrival. So Murnong is rarely seen these days. However, it's not all doom and gloom, because this photo I just took in December, and that is on the travelling stock route near my farm in Guyra. So there is still Murnong daisy, and I just found it so inspiring to find that. And they were actually blooming. It was like a yellow field of daisies. So it's good to know that there is still some out there.
Happy story to finish up on. Yeah. Round of applause. Thanks, guys. As these guys quickly mentioned, there may be a couple of free books floating around and things. Now, of all of the scientists in the club you guys could have turned up to, you've turned up on Freebies Bonanza night. So well done, because there should be enough books to go around. So on the way out to the end of everything, you'll be able to get a copy of not one, but all 3 books that these guys have written. You also have a handful of these seasonal calendars to give out to the people that win trivia, get signed edition copies of these books, and we have a lucky door prize of I think it's a year's subscription to Cosmos magazine for people that got ticket stubs on the way in that we'll draw at the very end. But for now, we'll give your brains a rest before we do trivia. We're going to take a quick 5-minute break, run to the bathrooms, get a drink, and we'll see you back here in a couple of minutes for trivia. Form teams and come up with hilarious names while you're at it. See you soon.